Named after England's patron saint, Royal St George's was designed by Dr. William Laidlaw Purvis to be a St Andrews South. After opening in 1887, it quickly earned a strong reputation and in just 7 years became the first course outside Scotland to host the Open Championship. The 2021 Championship will be the 15th time it has done so. The course retains Purvis's basic routing, though many of his blind spots and gaping cross bunkers have been removed, most notably by golf course architect Frank Penink, in preparation for the Open's return to Sandwich in 1981. The main hazards today are fiery, pitched fairways and vast, billowing greens. But on fine days, St George's shield is lowered. Jack Nicklaus, who won his 3 Opens in Scotland, had his worst round as a professional at St George's when he shot an 83. So perhaps he was breathing a bit of fire when he famously declared that the Open's venues get worse the further south you travel. According to legend, St George killed a dragon. Many golfers have found themselves similarly slain. This is every hole at Royal St George's. Like a lot of famous British links, Royal St George's can often seem a little underwhelming at a first glance, but the opening hole, largely unchanged from Purvis's day, is deceptively demanding. A drive up the right side of this crowned fairway opens up the green, which is protected on the left side by a trio of bunkers and by a ridge that swoops across the hole. As with any links, the game is played along the ground and not just in the air, so the wind and the topography both matter. The aggressive line here is hard down the left, over the corner of the dogleg, which is protected by 2 bunkers. If they are successfully carried, the reward is a shorter, relatively straightforward approach up to a domed hogsback green. On the last day of the 1938 Open, with a howling gale at his back, Henry Cotton drove the green. The hole was admittedly 50 yards shorter then, and sank the putt for eagle. The first par 3 is a wild, natural Frank Penink design that requires no bunkers for protection. Hence, the hole is called Sahara. It can play very differently depending on the wind. It's usually head-on, and the hole location as the narrow 2-tier green is almost 40 yards long. As you leave the hole, you may pay homage to a stunted blackthorn to the right of the green, the sole remaining tree on the course tough enough to survive these harsh conditions. The first thing that strikes you about this hole, because it's staring you in the face, is the enormous Himalayan bunker that must be negotiated with the tee shot. It more resembles a small quarry than a bunker and is possibly the UK's tallest. If you take the bunker on, as opposed to playing safe down the left, on the other side is a welcoming, relatively flat and broad fairway known as the Elysian Fields, with a good line into the perched angled green. An aggressive approach runs the risk of tripping over the putting surface and out of bounds. From a high tee in the dunes, the 5th hole cascades down toward the shoreline, an inspiring drive followed by what Ian Fleming tells us was fictional special agent James Bond's favourite second shot on the course, over bunkers and through a valley between high sand dunes to a distant, taunting flag. In the 1949 Open, Harry Bradshaw's drive in the second rolled onto part of a broken bottle. He played the ball as it lay, advancing it about 20 yards and made a double bogey that arguably cost him the title. The best spectator spot on the course is atop a vast sand dune that sits beside the 6th green, christened Jungfrau by Dr. Purvis after the famous Swiss Alp. In Purvis's original design, the dune was even taller and the tee stood on the far side of it, presenting a demanding blind shot. It was one of the most notorious holes in the country and a favourite of Purvis. The hole nowadays is called the Maiden. It plays perpendicular to the original, with Jungfrau providing a marvellous backdrop rather than a fearsome hazard. The first of the 2 par 5s is the longest hole on the course, but for players in the Open, it is also traditionally the easiest. It used to be a blind tee shot over a ridge of sand dunes, but elevated tees have been added and the dunes partially excavated, allowing a partial view of the fairway from the tee. The hole then draws you alongside the shoreline to a relatively flat green, whose fortifications include a pair of bunkers guarding the right front edge. The 8th hole of Dr. Purvis's original design was a par 3. It contributed to the course's reputation for having a front 9 that was light on yardage, heavy on quirks. Walter Hagen, America's first Open champion, said, "The first 9 holes, tremendous fun. not very good golf. Second 9 holes, tremendous golf, no fun at all. So Frank Penning scrapped the hole and replaced it with today's challenging par 4 that plays away from the sea to a plateau fairway, then down a gully to a devilish 2-tier green. The last hole of the front 9 is a relatively short par 4 by today's standards, but still with plenty of hazards to lead the golfer astray, especially the high-faced pot bunkers that edge into the green, which is actually the old 16th green from the original layout. The 10th is a perilous par 4 that runs in the opposite direction than the 9th. There is no good side to miss the domed green, which sits high above you as you play your approach shot. Anything long here will bound down the hill, leaving an extremely challenging shot. In Goldfinger, Ian Fleming calls this the most dangerous hole on the course, one that has broken many hearts. This stout par 3 plays downhill back outwards towards the sea. The hole was originally a par 4. In preparation for the 1981 championship, the tees were moved back, creating a demanding long shot to a well-protected 2-tier green. Penning completely revamped the par 3s. Today, they each present a strong challenge, and because all 4 of them play in a different direction, the wind presents a different challenge on each. Largely unchanged since Royal St George's first open in 1894, the 12th retains a slightly antiquated museum piece charm. It's the shortest par 4 on the course. Open competitors will be hoping for a long iron off the tee, a wedge to the pin and 1 putt. But the slightly dog-legged hole isn't defenceless. It has a huge ridge running the length of the fairway, 3 strategically placed fairway bunkers, and a small green protected by another 6 deep bunkers. The next 3 holes are perhaps the toughest trio on the course, an impregnable triangle where many opens have been won and lost. The 13th plays out towards the old clubhouse for the course next door, Prince's, an erstwhile open venue. The fairway is pinched by a pair of bunkers on each side. The hole turns slightly left and demands a long approach to a narrow, razor-backed green guarded by another 2 bunkers which, like all the bunkers at Royal St George's, seem to have a magnetic attraction for golf balls. Open competitors will be wise to approach the 14th with great respect and caution. The Suez Canal ditch cuts right across the hole, and an out-of-bounds fence runs all down the right side. Many have had their hopes blown away here. During the 2011 Open, Dustin Johnson was 2 shots off the lead and in pole position on the fairway on the final day. He went for the green with a 2-iron, but carved it into oblivion, giving his playing partner Darren Clarke a 4-stroke cushion with 4 to play. This long brute of a hole usually plays into the teeth of a prevailing wind. 5 bunkers await the drive, another 3 straddle the width of the fairway short of the green. Any approach with a hint of fade will be repelled, leaving players with an extremely delicate chip and run from short and right of the green. It was here in the fictional match against Goldfinger that James Bond hit a driver off the fairway. The ball hit the bank below the green, bounced high with the impact and finished 2 inches from the hole. This gorgeous par 3 is the shortest hole on the course. The green is a fairly generous target, but it slopes away on all sides, and errant tee shots are usually directed into one of the punishing pot bunkers that enclose it. In 2003, Thomas Bjorn was 3 strokes ahead, but took 3 shots to get out of the right-hand greenside bunker, handing the claret jug to Ben Curtis. Royal St George's rewards good driving, and the tee shot on 17 requires a powerful one to another domed fairway. The hole then doglegs slightly to the left and asks for a crisp iron, usually from a sloping lie, to a wide-mouthed shelf of a green with a high, Pinehurst-like false front that will repel any faint-hearted approach shot. With the glorious exception of St Andrews, Open Championship folklore decrees that the final hole must be long, littered with hazards, and extremely punishing. The home hole at Royal St George's requires a solid drive down the middle and a solid long-ironed approach. A pair of bunkers stand like sentries on either side of the green, which slopes dramatically away on the left-hand side into what is known as Duncan's Hollow. Royal St George's length, design, fickle bounces, and sometimes foul weather add up to a rigorous test of both brawn and brain. To tame the course, one must be a master of strength, strategy, and self.